Well, I'm not saying you're cool. I'm saying for you, it's pretty cool that they don't remember you drinking.
Because side note, I'm old enough to know I'm not cool anymore.
Yeah, but sometimes do you ever remind your kids and say, "Listen, I was your age once, and I was really cool back then. You have no idea how lucky you are that I'm your dad." Do you ever go there? Because I say that all the time.
From time to time, though, they started this Instagram group for my 13-year-old soccer team, and I am on there as Sober Dad Crew, and one of the girls on her soccer team scoped me out, and the other night after practice was like, "Your dad's like Instagram famous."
Nice. There you go.
Not really, but
well,
I'll take it.
Yeah, you look at kids like they have 1,000 followers or whatever this. If you're even, and the kids hate that, by the way. Like when I always call myself a micro celebrity, I think is like more appropriate for me. But when my TikTok passed their TikToks combined, it was like they fucking hated me.
Welcome to the Sober Curator podcast, where sobriety isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's the ultimate life hack. I'm Elise Bryson, your fearless guide to a world where hangovers are canceled, fun is mandatory, and we still know how to shut down a dance floor, just with better shoes.
And I'm Tamara Routley, aka T-Bouge, your co-pilot, chaos coordinator, and the one who keeps Elise from turning this podcast into a full-blown reality show. Buckle up, sober party people.
From lifestyle and travel to pop culture and zero-proof cocktails, we're serving up the stories, trends, and guests that prove sobriety isn't just about what you're missing. It's about finally remembering where you left your keys. Let's get the party started.
Welcome to a very special Father's Day edition of the Sober Curator podcast. I'm your guest host, Jason Mayo, fellow curator, sober dad, and proud member of this wildly wonderful alcohol-free lifestyle movement. Today, we're putting the spotlight on fatherhood, the dads, from diaper duty to dad jokes, and doing it all without the booze. Because let's face it, being a present parent is the ultimate flex. What do you think about it, Stephen? Ultimate flex, is that a little bit too heavy, or does that sound cool? Or
I feel like I don't often flex.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe.
Well, we're the same age and we have the same amount of time sober and we have all these things in common. So if you're anything like me, a flex could mean injury,
or just getting out of bed in the morning feels like a flex. Sometimes
it feels like just survival is the key word at this point.
You know what my flex this year was? I spent this year getting my 13-year-old daughter out of bed for school. That felt like a fucking flex every day to accomplish that.
It's exhausting.
Oh my God.
I actually have a question for you about tiring. That. I forgot one thing. I just wanted to mention that our fearless leader at the Sober Curator, Elise Bryson, is handing the reins over to us this week. She's taking a little break, and she's probably just on Amazon buying like pop culture shit and wasting a lot of time and money. But we're going to let her do that, and we're going to give her a little break. So,
and then when she listens later, she'll regret her decision. But
yeah, and edit everything out.
Right. It'll just be a silent meditation podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, just like crickets in the background. So wait, before we even get into the meat of stuff, you just talked about the flex being getting your 13-year-old daughter up for school in the morning, right? So I have one kid that's out of college now and one kid that's in college. So I don't really have to do that routine anymore. But I do remember when the younger one in particular was in high school, she liked to sleep. And my favorite thing to do was play Megadeth, Peace Sells Who's Buying, at full blast in her room to annoy the shit out of her, to wake her up. And she hated it, but I did it every time. What method do you have to get the kid out of bed?
It feels like it's asking 50 times in a row. But then the logic kicks in because I say, in order for me to leave work early to take you to practice, I need to get to work on time. And she loves soccer so much that usually it works. It was definitely a work in progress this year. Yeah. I mean, I've had two older ones that I did it with, and the oldest, who's almost 22, he honed it down to like needing 5 minutes and falling into a car and like rolling. And then my 18-year-old, who's about to graduate from high school, is really just easy and independent with getting up. And she's got a car now, so she's killing it. She just does her thing. So
Yeah. And then you kind of miss it when you don't have to do it anymore.
yeah,
You know,
I
that's
got
the
time
sad
because
part.
I got a 9-year-old too.
You're lucky. I mean, I don't want to go back, but I do miss the times when my kids had no problem talking to me at all, you know?
Yeah. I don't really want to go back to the beginning in diapers.
No, fuck that, man.
I've
Fuck
surgically prevented that.
Yeah, I've
occurrence.
heard that story with the ice frozen peas.
Yeah. Father's Day vasectomy stories.
Frozen peas on the peen. That's
Yeah.
okay. Before I just want to say, so welcome Stephen Kimball, who is the host, creator, producer, editor, writer, everything of Sober Dad Crew podcast. So I just want to make sure everybody knows who you are. It doesn't really matter who I am because I don't have a podcast. So it really
But you've
doesn't
been
matter.
a guest on my podcast, but you also have a cool website. So you should shout out yourself too.
I do have a pretty cool website, and you did write an article for that website, which is cool. But I want to get into like some stuff. So I think I've told you when we talked that I facilitate this dad's recovery group once a week, right? So I had that group tonight, and I had the opportunity to sort of talk about something that I figured I'd throw out there, right? So we've both been sober around 15 years, right? A little over 15 years. Your kids, you have older kids, but you also have kids that are younger than mine.
Yeah, technically my stepkids, but they're just my kids.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I love that. So when you were drinking, how old were the kids that you had at the time?
So if I've been sober for 15 years and my oldest will turn 22 in July, so
I can't do that math.
yeah, 7, right? And
Okay.
it really ramped up really after he was born was really when my drinking kind of ramped up. So that period there from when he was born. So he, has some memories, and then his sister, who's 4 years younger, who's 18, doesn't remember a lot. And, we're a totally sober house here. My wife's sober. So the younger two, they have no notion of anything but this.
Right. Which is pretty cool.
It's pretty, I like to think so.
Yeah.
They'll tell you it's not from time to time, but
Well, I'm not saying you're cool. I'm saying for you, it's pretty cool that they don't remember you drinking.
Because side note, I'm old enough to know I'm not cool anymore.
Yeah. But
It's
sometimes,
gone.
do you ever remind your kids and say, listen, I was fucking your age once and I was really cool back then. You have no idea how lucky you are that I'm your dad. Do you ever go there? Because I say that all the time.
From time to time, though, they started this Instagram group for my 13-year-old soccer team, and I am on there as Sober Dad Crew, and one of the girls on her soccer team scoped me out, and the other night after practice was like, your dad's like Instagram famous.
Nice. There you go.
Not really, but
Well,
I'll take it.
Yeah, you look at kids like they have 1,000 followers, whatever this. If you're even, and the kids hate that, by the way. Like when I always called myself a micro celebrity. I think is like more appropriate for me. But when my TikTok passed their TikToks combined, it was like they fucking hated me. They still hate me, but that's like it's.
At least it's just for the TikToks and not for the other stuff.
Yeah, it's for everything. It's for everything. But so wait, I want to go back. So what I wanted to ask you was, because my oldest was 7 when I got sober. So I had a 7 and a 3. So similar.
Yeah.
And I think back to the difference between me as a dad when I was drinking and using drugs and like really at my worst personally, and who I am today as a dad. And it's almost like I can't even remember who that person was. It's such a different person. And we started talking at our meeting tonight about, is it possible to be a good dad when you're not sober? And when I say not sober, I mean like in the thick of it, and some of the guys were like, drugs and alcohol came first. So for me, it was impossible to be a good dad when I'm sober. And then it has to be, are you present? And it's not about do you not want to be a good dad, and do you not love your kids fiercely, but is it possible to be like a really good dad if you're in your addiction?
It's hard to think that you can be, because I feel like I wasn't present, right? If you're defining, parenthood, fatherhood, what's your big job is to be present for your kids and show them that you love them, not tell them you love them, but show them you love them. It's pretty hard to do that if your attention is elsewhere. And it could be beyond alcohol too, right? It could be you're a workaholic or whatever it is. If you're not really putting kids first, I think that's, it's hard to do a good job at it.
So do you regret when you weren't sober? Like, do you look back and say, damn, I should have been more present, I wish I were more present? Or are you kind of like, that's who I was then and this is who I am now, and that's a part of me and that's okay?
I think I regret it. And, I see the difference now because, I got remarried. So it's interestingly having another shot at it in some ways, though I didn't meet my stepkids till they were, older. But it is interesting to sort of see myself parenting now, but also I'm parenting repartnered in a functional marriage, so that it's sometimes hard to shake out with the older two, because I stopped drinking when that marriage was kind of sinking.
Yeah.
So that definitely played into all that too. And the stress around that also did not help with quality parenting and patience and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like two different lifetimes, right? It's like you get like a chance to start all over again, new beginnings and whatnot. And, the biggest thing for me, like, I don't know if I regret anything per se, because I really am a true believer of like, I'm here today because of who I was then. And if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be able to be the dad that I am now. And, I think that as sober dads, we bring that lived experience to the table. And, not only we're present, but we probably have maybe a little bit more awareness of, what can happen if you go down that road, and more awareness about, the signs of mental health concerns and addiction and alcoholism and all that stuff, substance use disorder. So if anything, I feel like because of that, I'm more open and honest with my kid. Like, they know about my recovery, and they're about to find out a lot more with this memoir that I have coming out, which scares the shit out of me.
Now, man.
It's
all on the table,
all of it. But I actually feel like, having gone through that, I feel like it's part of me and it's ingrained in me, but it actually makes me a better dad, because I feel more in touch with who I am and more accepting of what I've been. Like, I give myself a break. You know what I mean? Like, I give myself grace.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree with that. I feel that way too. And I think I also understand that notion of progress, not perfection, as a way to kind of live. And I always say, I want to be a little better dad every day, a little better spouse, a little better friend, a little better employee, like incrementally every day. Like, what can I do to just be like a little better at everything? And I think that philosophy came out of sobriety 100%.
Right. And you talk about co-parenting a lot. I hear you talk about on a lot of the episodes about co-parenting and how important that is. And, my wife doesn't really drink. She's not one of us, but it's interesting to me that both you and your spouse are both sober, and that certainly has an effect on the dynamic of co-parenting. I would think it must be super nice to actually have a lot of that in common, to understand each other in that way.
Yeah, I don't think we would have worked if we had met before that, and I think it brings intentionality. We talk a lot about intentionality in our lives. I mean, we met during COVID, so it required intentionality to figure out how to like date when you're in a pandemic bubble.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like crazy. So I think that's such a foundation for us. And that is a lot of like, to me, sobriety is about making an intentional choice to like live a better, healthier life.
Yeah. So what are the styles? Like, if you had to describe yourself as a dad, or the style of parenting that you have, like, what do you bring to the table as a dad? Like, what makes you unique as a dad?
I mean, I think I'm like in my best parenting moments, I'm like a little ridiculous.
Right.
and like very dad jokey. I think that helps. And I think, we're pretty balanced. I'm a little more like ADHD chaos in the relationship,
Yep.
which is probably frustrating sometimes, but I think I bring a little bit of ridiculousness and humor. But I think in our family, and this is both of us, everything's on the table. We will talk about any fucking topic. I mean, the joke is if you bring it up, you have to explain it. But I even remember with the oldest one at one point being like, this is what meth is. This is this, like you got to know. You got to know what this stuff is. And like consent. If you listen to my podcast, I talk about teaching your kids about consent, the importance of consent. So I also kind of bring that, but also a little bit of like, I think punk rock ethos to it. So like one thing I joke about is, don't ever tell me everybody's doing it, because I'm like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Like that's not in my DNA. I don't do that.
It's punk is rebellion. It's definitely counter. As far as being a dad, right? If your kids had to describe you, right? Not how you would describe yourself as a dad, but if your kids had to describe you as a dad, what would they say about you?
Well, the joke answer is my stepdaughter will sometimes call me a leprechaun.
What does that mean even?
I don't know. I think I lost my cool once, and she's like, "You leprechaun." I don't even know what it means. But I mean, I hope in the end they would just describe me as open and loving.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm striving for, is to show them that they're loved and then when worthy of love. I think this is funny too. Like, I'm sort of someone who, when I do lose my cool, will be like threatened, but they all know it's just never going to happen.
Right.
Like that I'm a kind of a softie in the end,
But that's good, because if they sense that shift, then they know it's serious.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, if they were the older ones, would probably talk about like, I believe in process, like my mom always said, you don't go to bed mad, like that's what I grew up in this house as a kid. Like if you don't go to bed mad, you take care of the situation, the hurts, the whatever it is, because you don't want to sleep on that.
Right.
And so and still a little bit like, our bed is like the place everyone will plunk down and we'll talk.
Mm-hmm. That's hard to do sometimes, though, because I mean, I have girls, right? And my girls have a way of getting under my skin in a way that nobody else does. And I think it's because I love them so much and I want to be so accepted by them in every way that if they say something mean or they don't approve of something, and I sound like the kid, but if they don't approve of something in some way or they're mad at me, like I feel like I've really done something wrong. And it's hard for me. Like I remember one time my oldest was probably about 11, right? And she's always been very sassy, and and that's like, I think the nice way to say it, right? And somebody once told me about her, because we were like saying how she yells and she's this, and they're like sometimes the toughest kids make the best adults, which I think is totally true looking back on it now. But she once said to me, I by accident deleted the entire season of Dance Moms off the DVR because I just thought that people were done with it. So I was cleaning out the DVR, right? And I remember she got so mad at me that she said to me, "This is why nobody likes you and you have no friends." And she stormed out. And for a second, I sat in my head saying, nobody likes me. Like I started like rethinking my friendships. Like, do people not like it meant so much to me because I don't know. I guess I sense I want that approval from my kids. Maybe it's just reassurance that I am a good dad. Maybe it's because I think maybe I wasn't when I was drinking, but I don't know what that is. Do you have any similar experience to that? Does it bother you like that?
I think that's like a lot of parents, right? I mean, Brené Brown has this great audiobook, like The Gift of Imperfect Parenting, which was very helpful to me because I had this like just desire to be perfect as a parent, and it just fucked it all up. It was like worse trying to be perfect. Yeah, I think I love my kids so fiercely. Don't want to hurt their feelings. I mean, sometimes these things just happen, right? And sometimes you have to have hard conversations, or like my wife says, clear as kind.
Yeah.
You know, clear might not be fun, but clear is kind. Or,
Yep.
I mean, don't fucking delete dance moms, Jason.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the best is when my kid, again, the older one, the younger one's very shy. The older one is very like outgoing. And, you know, if my older one, if she has a pimple on her ass, everybody in the house knows it, right? That's her.
and the neighbors.
And the neighbors, right? And her favorite thing to say to me is, "You make my blood boil." Like, what's the most fucked up shit that your kids say to you? Like that you just like have to take a moment and be like, try not to laugh because it's really hysterical, but you need to like actually act like a parent in that moment.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's been some actual real, like, you know, in some of the blended family stuff, there's been like real, you know, that's, we I think have done well, but there's sort of, you know, it's its own unique challenge. So I think there's, you know, along those bumps, some, you know, real hard stuff has been said. I mean, the leprechaun thing was sort of one, or
I do love that.
I think I've been called a rat roach before. I don't even know what that is, but I mean,
it's
it
a
sounds
good
like
punk
a terrible
name.
creature though. Yeah. Rat. Yeah.
Super punk name.
Or like a band from Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I don't know. The leprechaun thing seems like it's not PC though, too. Like,
Probably
I feel like
not.
your kids should be canceled because of that.
Yeah.
You know,
No, can you cancel your own kids?
sometimes I'd like to.
Yeah, probably
They
not.
certainly
Poor
try to
Elise.
cancel me.
Elise is going to cancel this episode.
Oh yeah,
But-
well, that's okay. The more we can fuck it up, the better. The more fun it is for us. So, what about like something that I talk about a lot with my guys at the dad meeting is projecting. Okay, so especially from like from my point of view, having depression and anxiety my whole life, and substance use disorder. Sometimes it's like the littlest tiny little things that I notice in my kids. You know, it could be their day didn't go right, or they had a fight with a friend, or they're upset with something. You know, it's hard for me, for my mind not to go and say, she's probably an alcoholic, you know, or I hope she doesn't go through that. Like I went through it. It's hard for me not to project my shit on their journey, even though I know that everybody has their own journey, you know? Is that hard for you as a parent?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've adjusted to it, you know, like, because having a kid over 21, right, he's legally able to go buy a beer. And we were at lunch and he was like, oh, yeah, like my friend and I went to like Liquid State. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, you're fucking 21.
That's
you
weird.
can go to like a pub for a trivia night. So, I think it can be, but I think the places it's been harder are like, sometimes not my projecting, but like, and my 18-year-old, and you know, she's given me permission to talk about this, had it, you know, 3 years ago, was really deep in an eating disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it took so long for me to like, not, you know, get rebalanced as she got healthy.
Yeah.
But then to not look at the other kids and be like, do you have an eating disorder too? You know, like it's these experiences, I think, you know, we carry them, and that was so scary, you know, as a parent. Like that was, you know, you'd get up in the morning and you're like, is my kid alive? You know, like it was terrible. Those years were hard. So I had to learn to kind of walk back out of that too, to get healthy.
Yep.
You know, I was like, that's one of those, thank God I'm sober times.
Yeah.
Because I had to be like really present for her. But yeah, that maybe is my version of projecting some of that stuff as sort of that other life experience too, not just my own.
Well, having no control is scary.
Yeah.
Because when you when you have little kids and they rely on you for everything, right? Like to wipe their ass, to feed them, like you're literally responsible for keeping them alive 24/7. And even though that's scary in itself, you do feel like you have at least a little bit of control. But when they get older and you feel like you can't help them, and again, it's part of like everybody's got their own journey, it is terrifying to not be able to help your kid, especially when it's something like a condition or an addiction or something to do with mental health. Like, you know, and maybe it's because we've been through stuff that we just want to cry for them and want to make everything better. But it's just, sometimes you just got to let them figure it out and guide them and be there and show up. And that's it, you know?
Yeah, or the feeling you want to just absorb it for them.
Yep.
But there's even normal things, and you maybe had this too. When the oldest got his license,
Mm-hmm.
and then they both drove off together,
Yeah.
I thought everything in my world that matters to me
Yeah.
just pulled out of the driveway.
Yeah. It's fucked.
It's fucked. It's like, I mean, that was just one of that's maybe is a classic parenting moment of like adolescent kids.
Yep.
But I was like, this is terrifying, but it's also what needs to happen.
My older daughter has taken off every side view mirror in the neighborhood at one point or another. she's a very aggressive driver. And I think it was like 2 weeks ago, she calls me, she goes, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "I kind of hit your Jeep." And I was like, "My Jeep's in the driveway." She's like, "I know, I kind of just pulled in too fast and I hit your Jeep. So can you check it when you get home?" I was like,
I like kinda.
Yeah. I was
It's
like,
a kind
what?
of yes or no.
Yeah, no, that's, and then the other one, she's been driving for, a year or whatever, a little more than a year. She's never been on a parkway. She's like little old lady, driving in the right lane, won't go on the parkway. So it's like two different things. So wait, I wanted to do this up front, and I know we don't have too much time tonight, but I do want to get into some stuff I want to wrap up with. But what's your birthday?
December 4th, 1970.
Fuck, I forgot that was another thing we had in common. December 7th.
Like brothers, essentially.
Yeah, December 7th, 1970. Okay, so
Yeah.
I have with me a book of dad jokes.
Oh.
And what kind of a fucking podcast would this be for Father's Day if we didn't read a couple of dad jokes? Do you agree or disagree?
I 100% agree. I might use them shortly after this.
Okay. Well, I'll photocopy them. Oh, or I'll take a picture with my phone and text you. Okay. So December 4th, because it goes by dates. All right. You ready?
I'm born ready.
Did you see the snowman at the farmer's market looking at carrots?
No.
He was picking his nose.
Ah.
So dumb. Okay.
I got hung up on the heat of summer. I was overanalyzing.
Yeah.
I was like, he's melted.
Is it a dad joke or is it not a dad joke? December 7th. This is me. Okay. Why did the old man fall in a deep, narrow pool of water, Stephen?
Wait, say it again.
Why did the old man fall in a deep, narrow? It's so dumb.
I'm just also thinking incontinence, but
yeah, no. I can't even read it sometimes. They're so stupid. Okay, hold on. I'll get it together. Why did the old man fall in a deep, narrow pool of water?
I have no idea.
He couldn't see that well.
I actually kind of like that one.
Like, would our kids even think that was remotely funny?
My 9-year-old, he says he's the funniest one in the house, which actually might be true. He's got a pretty good, like, sophisticated, dry sense of humor for a 9-year-old. And so I'll do those and he'll just look at me, just be like, shake his head.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to send you a bunch of these.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, I'm just going to do one more because I really just want to do one more. Okay. All right. So
do our sober date.
Oh, shit. Wait, you're February though, right?
Yeah. February 10th.
Okay. February 20th. I'm March 25th. So February 10th. Okay. Here we go. Elisa's going to love this. This is where Tamar, her editing prowess comes in handy. Okay. Wait, February what?
10th.
Okay. February 10th. Here we go. Okay. So this is dialogue. All right. So the dad says, "Did you hear about the new movie on constipation?" And the son says, "No." And the dad says, "That's because it never came out."
Oh, I love it.
Oh, so dumb. Okay. And then March 25th, we'll make this the last one. Because I can do this for an hour. Okay. March 25th. Want to hear a dirty joke?
Pig fell in the mud.
A dog jumped into a mud puddle.
Oh.
Okay. Want to hear a clean joke?
Sure.
A dog jumped into a bath.
Ah.
All right.
We should just get elected to public office and use these to filibuster.
Yeah, you know what? And it would Cory Booker would be proud, I think.
I know.
And we can certainly use
We
it
should
to
send him a copy and say next time you got a filibuster.
How about a serious question and then we'll end it with some fun stuff.
Okay, so that sounds good.
So when we talked on Sober Dad Crew, we were a couple of days before the election,
Yeah.
right? It was a weird fucking time. Okay. And here we are, not talking about politics, but it's hard to ignore the fact that there is some fucked up shit going on everywhere, right? So having kids, how do you feel about the world that we're sort of like handing to them right now? Because they have it tough right now. Like the job market, everything, it's going to be tough for them. AI, I mean, Jesus Christ, you name it. As a dad, how do you feel about that? And how do you sort of like manage that and keep them positive and try not to explode?
It's hard. The oldest, he's such a like watcher of the news like me, and we're lefties, I'll put it out there, but sort of regardless of where you stand politically, it's bananas out there. It's hard to watch your kids. You look at rent in Ithaca, New York, which is sort of the biggest city near me, and it's $3,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm like, who's working where, for that? The 18-year-old, she's going into nursing. So I feel like she's fairly, job wise in a solid, super solid position. And then the younger two, it's just hard to explain the weight of things and the historical context. If like you take the Middle East, right? Like, how do you explain that to a 9-year-old? It's pretty hard. And how do you explain a world that seems to lack total empathy right now? I don't know. It's super hard. It's just super hard. It's a hard time to parent when it feels like so much is misaligned with my ethical center.
And empathy is something it's not easy to teach if you're not empathetic yourself. So the only way you can really learn empathy is, I think that's an environmental thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have good parents that are empathetic, then hopefully your kid winds up having empathy, But yeah, that's all you could just open mind, listen to what people are saying instead of actually, asking them how they are and then walking away.
Yeah.
And just like start there, All right, so off the hard, heavy stuff. But
we need another dad joke or something.
How about we'll do one more, and then I'm going to ask you the last part, okay? You have another date that you... Give me a kid's birthday. What's one of your kids' birthdays? Your oldest.
July 2nd.
Okay, July 2nd. Okay, here we go. Oh, I turned right to it almost. All right, here we go. Oh, this is a long one. I'm going to trip over this. Okay. Taking his son to school, the dad began reversing the car down the driveway. The dad got a wistful look in his eye and stopped the car. "What's wrong?" asked his son. "Nothing," said the dad, then put the car in reverse again. "This just takes me back." They have a whole book of this stuff, 365. And some of them are good. Some of them are not good. But
or less good.
So what are you doing for Father's Day? Let's go there. Like, what's your perfect Father's Day? And are you going to even get anything for Father's Day? The day that you want, a present, anything that you want, or is it about everyone else?
So we did our big Father's Day last Sunday, actually, because of soccer tournaments and other things. So we did the big, with my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and I, and all our families had a lasagna fest Sunday. Ate a lot of food. Yeah, I got a Formula One book, which was cool.
Wait, are you a NASCAR guy?
I
know it's different, but
I'm not really a NASCAR guy.
Isn't it the same thing for a Jewish kid from Long Island? It seems like the same thing to me.
I mean, it's vehicles with wheels. There's subtle differences. I will say the fashion sense in Formula One is, from my perspective, better, but cars going around a track. So I got a book on that. I got a Lego set.
Nice.
The 13-year-old, it was her first day of no school. She got up at 11 a.m., called me at 11:30 a.m. at work and said, "I'm bored. Can I do the Lego set I gave you?"
Perfect.
I said, yes. I think what was really beautiful is got some really nice sentiments in the cards from the kids, and even from my 18-year-old daughter's boyfriend. That to me was pretty great. And then I think this Sunday, the older two will be around, so we'll do something, if it's nice, go for a hike or something like that. So yeah, I don't really feel like I need presents. I just like to all be together, especially as the older ones are, more launching. There's not too many more of like all of us together kind of Father's Day. So
Do you like Father's Day?
yeah, I guess I do. I mean, it's a thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know any different. I've never been like, hey, skip it. Like, I think here's the thing when you're a parent, your birthday becomes about your kids,
Yes.
and Father's Day is about your kids.
Yes.
It's not really about you.
What is about you at this point? Aside from listening to your headphones when you're working and nobody's around, what else is yours at this point? Like, truly yours.
I think Sober Dad Crew is
that
mine.
is yours.
And I think that's also like my recovery tool is that. I think there's times I plunk down and put records on, and that's, sometimes people will join me, but sometimes I just need that kind of time to do it. I don't know. I'm so family oriented that just sort of what I know and how I'm wired.
Yeah. Well, I asked, do you like Father's Day is because I love it, because anytime I'm a very needy dad, according to my kids. I'm very needy. Like, I always want hugs. I always want to watch TV. I always have to walk in and barge in on anything they're doing and say, what's up? Like if all their friends are over, I like knock on the door and they're like, ugh. Like, I'm very needy. I need attention from them at all times because I can't get enough. Right. But my wife, she always hated Mother's Day because it was like inevitable that there was going to be a fight. And if it wasn't like, she knew that they could give a shit less that it was Mother's Day, and she was always disappointed. So she was always like, I fucking hate Mother's Day. Like, I don't even want to hang out with them. And I'm always like, I love Father's Day. Like, it's the one day that, gives me sort of like the justification to act like a needy dad, and for me, this weekend, we have a cabin upstate, and we've made it a tradition that my family and all my friends from growing up, from second grade, first grade, all the way to now, we all bring our families up to the cabin and we spend the whole weekend just with the kids and us, and, riding ATVs or sitting by the fire and just eating dinner. And it's just, it's nice. It's nice to be with your friends and see your friends' kids hanging out with your kids. That's a really lovely thing to witness.
Yeah. I mean, I love having family together, so, and it's hard for me because my folks are in Maine, so they're not nearby. And my brother's in California.
I was just in Falmouth this past weekend.
There you go. I forgot that was the other one. We were just separated at birth.
Literally there this past weekend, visiting my nephew who was graduating. Yep.
Yeah. My dad had cataract surgery, so I was up there for that, and then got to see my mom, whose health isn't good. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole on this, but aging parents is its own thing. But
that's the next time you have me on the Sober Dad Crew that I'm going to hold you to. And
100%.
So let me ask, before I read this wrap up, because I do have something to read, or else Elise is going to
have an assignment.
Yeah, or she's going to beat the snot out of me. And I'm even wearing my Sober Curator hat just to score some points and kiss ass, because even though I don't get paid, she will fire me, and I'm terrified of that because I seek recognition from everybody. And I need to have, I'm very needy. I'm a needy writer too. But before I do this, you want to throw anything else in? Father's Day? Anything about being a parent? Any message to maybe some dads out there that are sober curious or in a bad place right now, and, not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and wonder if they've screwed everything up for their kids? You want to give them a message maybe of hope, strength?
I mean, I do believe there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I think sometimes it's really dim. I mean, I've talked on my podcast to folks who are literally, one guy who was sleeping under a bush and homeless. So there is a way back. If you're in the throes of it or it's newly in recovery and the relationship's strained, you have to give your kids space and time. But and you have to. It's a show me, don't tell me. You have to demonstrate to your kids, your spouse, whatever, but your kids, you have to demonstrate that you're not going to let them down again. And that takes time because you got to rebuild trust. And I always say it's super easy to lose trust and super duper hard to build it back.
Yeah. I can talk to you for a long time because every time you say something, I want to say something else. But I hear people, like, through the years that I've been sober, I hear a lot of people say, I got sober for my kids. I got sober for my family. And then you hear people of the opinion that say, you have to get sober for yourself. And, for me, that hit a very emotional, like there's no car crash, no jail time, no rehab. I didn't do any of that stuff. Mine was an emotional bottom. And one of those huge bottoms out of all of them was me realizing that I'm fucking up my family, and that was the kick in the ass I really needed to get sober. So fuck it. I kind of did get sober at first for my kids, because I didn't want to fuck this shit up anymore. So do you think that that's okay? Like, are you of the thing that you got to get sober yourself first, or then, you're never going to get sober if you're doing it for your kids? Like, I don't know. I kind of have feelings about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of a believer in whatever works for each person. Like I didn't do 12-step, and the people I know who do it, it works really well for them. I just stopped, and then I did a lot of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I remember the night clearly, and I was like, I just was sort of looking ahead, and I had this sort of vision of my grandmother being like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like the way down that road is not good. And I just turned the other way and never went back. I had a lot of work to do in therapy around sort of who I was and my anxiety and my depression and all those things. But I think part of that, I don't want to like go down that road, was family is so important, and family was strained. So I wanted to like make it not strained. But I think it's both. I think, you do have to want yourself to be healthy, right? That's the doing it for yourself, is I want to be like healthy. And then it's also being healthy is good for everybody around me.
Yeah. And I, the message too is that you don't have to crash and burn to turn it around. You really don't. You could have that moment like you had and just be like, what am I doing? See that moment of clarity, I guess, in
that I listened,
Yeah.
I've had people say, you don't have to compare rock bottoms, right? Like your moment that you turn is your moment that you turn, whatever it is.
Yep.
And, it's good if it doesn't involve jail time. That's a plus.
Right.
Or a DUI or whatever,
Yeah. Well, I think we're supposed to go maybe 25, 30 minutes. And of course we're like 45 minutes now.
Yeah.
And just out of spite, maybe we should just go for 2 hours and just do it like Sober Dad Cruise style and just get like meaty for an hour and a half. Like that was good. I like that.
Yeah. That was fun. I just go, I roll,
I need to settle in to a podcast, like a soft couch,
Well, because I sort of, I ask people their story, and I just sort of kick back and listen. If you haven't listened to my podcast, that's like, I ask people, how many kids do you have? I ask them if you want to be a dad. That's how we start. And then I say, like, what's your sobriety journey or story? And I listen then, so that's going to kind of be what it is. And then usually what comes out of that is the rest of what we talk about, or the person's a musician or they're whatever they are. And, work comes up a lot because that's, an intersect, and that, work was a huge part of your story.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, I encourage everybody to check out the Sober Dad Crew podcast. Earmuffs, Elise, but it's my favorite podcast. I love it because I've listened to almost every episode, and I love that I can put on any episode at any point in the episode and always have an interest, because I have that immediate identification and that bond with another dad. No matter what they're talking about, we start there, and I always find it interesting, the conversation. So any dads out there or wannabe dads, almost dads, no matter how old your kids are, sober, not sober, straight edge, it doesn't make a difference. Check out that podcast because it's freaking awesome. And, everybody call your favorite sober dad, on Father's Day, or reach out, text somebody and see how they're doing and just say, listen, you're doing a great job, because, dads need to hear that too, for sure. And here's the big wrap up. You ready, Stephen?
I'm holding on to the edge of the seat.
Should we just read one more dad joke?
Yeah.
Give me another date. Give me another date.
Oh, I don't know. May 28th.
Dude, I am literally open to May 20th.
That's the 18-year-old's birthday.
Okay, so. May 28th. You ready?
I'm born ready for this.
Okay, this is another conversation between a dad and a son. So the dad says, "Be careful out there. It's raining cats and dogs." The son says, "Okay, Dad." And the dad says, "Seriously, it's dangerous. You could step in a poodle."
Oh, come on. That's good stuff.
It is. And that's our Father's Day special, folks. Whether you're a dad, have a dad, or just really love a good barbecue playlist, we hope you felt a little bit more seen today. From the whole Sober Curator crew, we raise our sparkling waters or ginger beers to the rad, resilient dads doing it alcohol-free. And as Elise always says, getting sober matters, but staying sober matters more. So until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and most of all, Stephen, keep it sober.
Amen.
All right, brother. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for tuning in, because let's be real, we're way more fun than your ex's drunk texts.
If you laughed, learned, or just need more of our voices in your life, honestly, who wouldn't? Hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, and send this episode to your sober or your "I swear I'm only drinking on the weekends" besties.
And if you have a story, feedback, or hey, maybe you just want to slide into our DMs like it's 2012, well, we're here for it. Find more curated magic at thesobercurator.com. And remember, getting sober matters, staying sober matters more. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep it sober.